Hello again, Steve here, with a little conversation that my daughter Carissa and I were having not long ago. I just got back from work about an hour ago and we had this discussion about how it is the tendency of us human beings sometimes to criticize others for the way that they live their lives, even though they might be not harming anybody and they're just different than us. And she used a couple of really good examples which I thought were profound. And I asked her, hey, would you like to come on and do an interview on this and chat about it a little bit, because she's got a lot to share. I think it's a lot of value. And so yeah, welcome, Carissa. And you had told me about somebody that you knew who was shaming somebody because of the way that
The
person
way he
was.
is.
Can you elaborate on
Yeah.
it a little bit?
Well, something that's very close to my heart, and I think should be close to a lot of people's hearts, is the ability to respect and support people's right to just live their lives the way individuals see fit. Obviously, so long as it's not actively hurting other people. And by hurting, I don't mean opinion-wise, like hurting their feelings, because they have a different sentiment than they do, perhaps, but actively hurting them. We only have one life to live. We really need less nosy people poking their, butting into other people's lives and saying that you shouldn't live your life the way you want to be. So one of the most common manifestations of this type of hating on people for living the life they want to live it is gay shaming. Even though we do live in a pretty progressive country, Canada, a progressive continent, it still happens. You still have people who say things like, oh, I don't have a problem with gays, I just don't want to see them in public. Doing the exact same things, affection-wise, as you'd be okay with a heterosexual couple doing, right? Like holding hands or kissing, right? So I know this guy, and he has a nephew-in-law who is gay, and talking to this guy who has a gay nephew-in-law, he uses disparaging language in reference to his nephew-in-law, calling him a faggot, twinkle toes, flaming homosexual, right? And that's really the only language he uses in reference to this nephew-in-law. He really dehumanizes this member of his extended family by putting him into this one category, which obviously is only one small aspect of this young man's life. He probably has a whole bunch of hobbies, personality of his own, and instead he's just been pigeonholed into this one category based on the fact that this guy has a thing against the gays. And what's even worse is that, he's saying these incredibly hurtful and damaging things to someone in his extended family, right? So, it's no joke that people end up with severe psychological trauma from being bullied, especially when they are ostracized, disowned, or basically told either directly or indirectly that who they are shouldn't exist. Some it's no it's no joke that a lot of gay youth, trans youth, commit suicide at alarming rates because
Wow.
they are harassed and disowned, and like I said, by their own families, right?
So not only is this behavior,
Not only is it
it's
in
not
kind of
even
like
neutral, it's actually
not
negative.
even it's not even like a dickish thing to go around and say, yeah, you're not hurting anyone, but I have a problem, so you should just stop. Then again, I'm kind of doing that, um, but the fact that it does cause people to kill themselves is all the more hurtful and unfortunate.
You also talked about the fat shaming thing too, where people make jokes about people who are overweight and somehow think that, telling people that, oh, why don't you just go on a diet or do some exercise or something like that in sort of a sneering way is not only not helpful, it's actually very counterproductive, because very often these people are already, they're overweight or fat for a reason.
Yeah.
Because they're maybe suffering from something.
Yeah.
Right? You want to elaborate on that a bit and how this relates to that?
Well, being overweight and obese is a common target of a lot of bullying and harassment, and it does not help to try to correctively bully them into becoming thinner. It's been shown time and time again, studies and psychological analyses, that if you try to effectively beat a behavior out of someone using violent tactics like, verbal harassment, sure, it might hurt them enough and cause them to want to, diet or whatever to lose the weight, but they're still going to have a bruise afterwards, and they're probably going to have not developed a proper coping strategy to effectively deal with what was causing them to, perhaps overeat emotionally, whatever, right? You're not doing them any good. You're basically just shaming them because you're kind of a dick. So the reason that I think you brought up the fat shaming was because this guy who is hitting on his nephew-in-law for being gay has 2 daughters who are both obese, and one is on depression medication. I'm not saying that has anything to do with her being obese. I'm just saying that she does have emotional problems and obvious hurt within herself, and she has to do that to be able to get out of bed in the morning, take medication. So I find it really, hypocritical in a way that someone would be so keen on, trying to correctively bully someone in their extended family for being gay. And if you applied the same sort of sentiments that are commonly applied to gay or trans people, things like, I'm okay with them, I just don't want to see them kissing in public, they're disgusting, they're of, low moral character, they choose to be that way, therefore they're deserving of, whatever slurs are thrown their way, calling them things like faggot. If those same things were recontextualized in the and used in reference to fat people, calling fat people things like hippos or obese or whatever else, in an attempt to correct their behavior, saying things like, I'm okay with fat people, I just don't want to see them in public, they're disgusting, they shouldn't be given jobs, they're of low moral character, and, doing these things and ending, causing these people to just become more emotionally distraught and depressed and killing themselves because, like I said, a lot of people who are overweight or obese become depressed as a result. And they do things like crash diets or, end up developing things like bulimia, especially women. And the fact that, this guy's 2 daughters are obese, and the fact that, it doesn't seem like he realizes how, how hurtful being criticized for who you are, whether it is a choice or not, can be, and how it can lead to severe long-term emotional problems is really unfortunate. And I think it just comes down to the fact a lot of times that a lot of hate that people who like to prop themselves up with because they aren't really happy with themselves, stems from the fact that it is a million times easier to dismiss other people's accomplishments, and kind of try to drag them down to their emotionally immature level, try to, like I said, dismiss their accomplishments, even though secretly the kind of confidence that these people that you're trying to bring down have, the kind of zest for life that they have, and freedom, and kind of self-knowledge and self-knowledge and realizing that they can be who they are. It's just, you see it time and time again that these types of pessimists and hateful shit slingers find it a lot easier to just kind of heckle from the sidelines and keep on with their head in their ass and staying underneath the bridge that they're trolling from. You know what I'm saying? So much easier than actually trying to accomplish what they actually want, realizing that they're just jealous and that they should step out of the rut that they've been living their lives in, the preconceived notions and the kind of societal expectations which they've never really taken a good look at, and is just hurting themselves, their family, and society in general as a whole.
Well, as you can see, Carissa has a lot to share here.
Not very eloquently.
These
got
topics.
A little jumbled up there, but
that's all right.
I hope the emotion came out, because I think it's, like I said in the beginning, it's something that's very close to my heart.
Yeah.
And I think should be close to a lot of people's hearts.
Yes, and
we really should examine why we have the preconceived notions we have, and whether it really is, helping us and others in the long run. Because if you're holding up an ideal, whether it be, the need for government, I don't know, the need for public schools, the need for fluoridation, whatever kind of niche you're into,
it's a good idea to examine it, right?
It's a good idea to examine it and realize,
what's the basis for this?
What's the basis? Is it anecdotal? Is it just that we have, a stick up our asses about things? Did we hear it from a certain person or our community, and we've just decided to kind of co-opt the idea, right?
Yeah. No, like I say, that was a great conversation, because, a lot of that stuff rang true for me. I mean, I wasn't too long ago, and still I catch myself. I used to call people fags. I used to, laugh at people I thought were fatter than they could be. And a lot of times it was just almost automatic. It was conditioning. I never questioned the conditioning, right? And even today, I was driving to work, and I saw a lady who looked like she was obese riding a bicycle. I mean, why did I even think of that as, oh, that's kind of odd? I mean, if I'd been correct, a better way would be to sort of salute her, high five or something. I mean, this lady is trying, I guess, but in a moment I snap back to my old ways of, wow, there's a fat woman on a bike. How out of line is that? And along the lines of improving the quality of our lives, well, I think what she's saying makes sense. If we are going around dumping on other people for them living the life that they're living, and they're not causing anybody else any harm, and they may have emotional issues wrapped around it, if we're going to go throwing out ideas like, derogatory comments and such like this, it certainly isn't going to help them. And I don't think it helps us, for sure, in terms of quality of life. Like, I've gone from, I used to be I was similar to that back in the day too, that I would, I had this, like, what's this homosexual thing going on and all this. Now it's more or less, I don't care. I really don't care. People can live their life the way they want to live it. And I find my quality of life has gone up because of that. I really do, Chris.
Yeah.
I find my quality of life has gone up. It's just a non-issue. It's okay that people just have their life.
Yeah, in fact, it's actually a positive thing, because if you can learn to empathize with other people's, confidence in themselves and passion for what they deem important.
And maybe even celebrate it if we can, if or at least, commend people for stepping out into their life.
Because even, like, let's say, not even using the gay example, like, let's say you have, like, a whole community who are, super into, football, like Saskatchewan, and you aren't necessarily like that, right? Celebrate the fact that you have a whole bunch of people who are celebrating, a positive thing and are super happy and super positive about something. Like, they aren't, gangbangers, they aren't, hustling on the street, dealing drugs. They're getting together and celebrating a positive thing, right? And even if you aren't into football, it's great if you can empathize with, the fact that they're human beings and they're enjoying life,
Right. Yeah. Empathize with others who are enjoying life. Even if what they're doing is not what we care about doing, we care about, are interested in, any of the above. If they're not harming anybody else, and hopefully not harming themselves, then, great.
That's a good.
It's perfectly fine. Let's have a little diversity.
That would be a good little homework lesson to not only examine pet peeves or things we don't like, and try to determine whether we really should harbor those negative sentiments towards X group or X thing, and whether we should actually perhaps learn to look at it from a different perspective, and actually celebrate the fact that, it is a positive thing for certain people,
Or at least we can be neutral on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if what somebody's doing is positive for them or whatever.
Yeah.
But who am I to go telling somebody you can't do this? You shouldn't behave like this. I shouldn't see you like this. You shouldn't be riding that bicycle like that.
Yeah, we already have a group doing that enough, and it's called the government. We don't need more people telling people what not to do.
Yeah, so good point. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good wrap-up for sure. I mean, I think Carissa did a great job of presenting an idea, and I think it's an important idea. It's the actions of hating on others does not improve the quality of our life, in my experience, and it certainly doesn't improve other people's quality of life as far as any study goes that I know of. So why do we do it? If we want a better quality of life, let people do what they're doing, and love on them a little bit more than criticize, I would say. So thanks for sharing that, Carissa, and we'll sign off for now, and we'll talk again later. Bye-bye for now.